Campaign Chaos, Jed for Smog Commissioner and Jethro's Inventions. The composite script now launches one of its most exuberant and sustained political farces, the transformation of Jed Clampett from reluctant private citizen into candidate for Smog Commissioner of Beverly Hills. What began as a desperate measure to distract Granny from open warfare over her soap kettle rapidly expands into a full-scale campaign complete with homemade posters, a doorless tank skywriting misinterpreted musical support, and a series of inventions that threaten to redefine both environmental technology and political oratory. The resulting comedy is broad, affectionate, and quietly pointed, a mid-1960s satire of electoral process that never loses sight of the character's essential decency. Jed's induction into candidacy is handled with the series' characteristic blend of external pressure and internal resistance. "An old stump kicker like me couldn't win no election," he protests, and the line carries the full weight of Buddy Ebsen's modest authority. Yet the alternative Granny's continuing preparation for armed feud leaves him no practical choice. The family's decision is reached with the same swift pragmatism that once secured a mansion and a gorilla. If the office that threatens the kettle can be captured, the kettle will be safe. Miss Hathaway's hopeful framing of the race as civic duty and better than feuding supplies the necessary civic varnish, but the true engine remains household loyalty. Jed runs so that Granny will not have to fight. Jethro's self-appointment as campaign manager produces an immediate cascade of inventive chaos. The first posters emerge from the printer with the candidate's name subordinated to the manager's. Jethro Bodine says vote for Jed Clampett. A second version corrects the hierarchy but introduces a new difficulty space limitations that reduce the office to Smog Commish and the manager's name to a cramped afterthought. Max Baer Jr. plays the role with the solemn excitement of a young man who has found a new arena for his organizational gifts. The same confidence that once launched a charm school and trained a gorilla now turns to the arts of persuasion. That the arts are practiced with incomplete understanding of spelling, layout, and political tradition only heightens the comedy. The campaign tank, already constructed for feud purposes, is pressed into electoral service. Sheets are to be hung from its sides, bearing slogans. The absence of a door remains an unresolved design flaw, yet the vehicle's capacity to draw attention is unquestioned. When Jethro further proposes skywriting as the solution to citywide notification, the script reaches a peak of pure inventive optimism. The subsequent failure letters that refuse to form correctly, a pilot who cannot draw, and a final product that Drysdale mistakes for a new diet drink advertisement embodies the series' long-standing portrait of ambition outrunning execution. The family is not discouraged. The rally will simply be rescheduled. The speech is already written. That speech, when finally shared, proves to be a collage of borrowed grandeur. "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears," collides with Mr. President and later 47 years ago. Jethro's literary method is appropriation without attribution, the same method by which he once assembled a sophisticated city girl identity for Emmeline. The comedy lies not in the theft but in the absolute sincerity of the delivery. In Jethro's mind, the words are now his because they serve the cause. The cause is protecting Granny's kettle. All rhetoric is therefore justified. Drysdale's evolving relationship to the campaign supplies a continuous thread of bankerly panic and opportunistic fantasy. Initially horrified that Jed has taken the race seriously, the banker gradually perceives the possibilities of image-making. The comparison to Lincoln railsplitter born in a log cabin is offered with the sudden excitement of a man who has discovered a marketable narrative. Raymond Bailey's performance moves from dread to calculation to pure visionary excess. Within minutes, the Smog Commissioner race has expanded in his mind to the mayor's office, the state senate, the governor's mansion, and finally the White House, with Drysdale himself installed as Secretary of the Treasury and a summer resident at Fort Knox. The sequence is a masterclass in the inflation of political possibility, grounded in the banker's lifelong inability to see the Clampetts as anything other than instruments of his own advancement. The confrontation with Commissioner Tinsley at the property reintroduces the original regulatory conflict in personal form. Tinsley's declaration that the candidacy has not altered his position on soap-making is met by Granny's unyielding hospitality and by Jethro's demonstration of the campaign tank. The commissioner's eventual confinement inside the vehicle, engineered by Granny's concern for his dear sweet mama in Iowa, is pure farce. Yet it carries the same logic of mountain problem-solving that once placed a lieutenant in the cellar. Obstacles are not argued with, they are temporarily removed from the field of action. The planned rally and the misinterpreted band concert form another layer of civic misunderstanding. When the family hears music in the park and assumes it is a spontaneous demonstration of support, they respond with the open-hearted participation that has always defined their public appearances. Drysdale's horror at the spectacle of Jed campaigning on a street corner with a tambourine is the horror of a man who understands image control. The family's delight at the support is the delight of people who measure political success by human warmth rather than strategic positioning. The suggestion that the rally be moved to the Clampett mansion to demonstrate that the candidate is a homeowner and a family man is Drysdale's attempt to reclaim narrative authority. The family accepts the suggestion with the same cheerful flexibility they bring to every change of plan. Jethro's anti-smog device, unveiled late in the sequence, threatens to resolve the original conflict through technology rather than politics. The invention is small enough to fit any automobile and, according to its creator, eliminates contaminants completely. The demonstration is prepared with great ceremony. Only the revelation of the filter's true nature, comic, homemade, and almost certainly non-functional, restores the proper balance of inventive ambition and practical limitation. The device is pure Jethro earnest, oversized in claim and rooted in the belief that every problem yields to sufficient cleverness and available materials. Throughout the campaign sequences, the script maintains a delicate double vision. On one level, the audience is invited to laugh at the procedural absurdities, the posters, the tank, the skywriting, the borrowed oratory. On another level, the laughter is tempered by recognition of the campaign's emotional core. Jed is not running for power or for glory. He is running so that an elderly woman may continue a craft that has defined her usefulness and her independence. The political process is being used in the most literal sense to protect a way of life. In the context of 1966, when American politics was increasingly dominated by image, money, and professional strategy, the Clampett campaign stands as a comic reminder that other motives remain possible. Performance demands are distributed with the series' customary intelligence. Buddy Ebsen's Jed moves through the escalating chaos with the same mild resistance and ultimate compliance he has always shown when family loyalty requires it. His discomfort with political performance is never played for contempt. It is played for recognition of a man who prefers private integrity to public display. Max Baer Jr.'s Jethro supplies the propulsive energy of pure invention, each new idea larger and less practical than the last. Irene Ryan's Granny remains the campaign's silent cause, an occasional active disruptor, her presence ensuring that the original grievance is never forgotten. Raymond Bailey's Drysdale charts the full arc from horror to opportunistic ecstasy, a portrait of ambition that cannot help inflating every possibility to its maximum dimension. Nancy Culp's Miss Hathaway continues to serve as the voice of procedural caution that is regularly overruled by events. Historically, the mid-1960s marked a period of expanding electoral participation and simultaneous growing cynicism about political process. The Beverly Hillbillies enters that conversation through the side door of farce. By presenting a campaign organized around the defense of homemade soap, the series reduces politics to its most intimate scale and then watches the reduction generate unexpected consequences. The laughter it provokes is not the laughter of dismissal. It is the laughter of recognition that the distance between a backyard kettle and a public office may be shorter than the professionals believe, especially when the people making the journey have never learned to regard any institution as more important than the household it is meant to serve. As the sequence prepares the ground for the final movement, the debate, the last-minute negotiations, and the reaffirmation of family values over electoral victory, it has already completed its essential comic work. A reluctant candidate has been drafted. A campaign apparatus of pure invention has been assembled. A banker has glimpsed the presidency in a rail splitter's modest candidacy, and a soap kettle remains for the moment, under the protection of democratic process rather than mountain artillery. The composite script, by lingering so lovingly over every poster, every mechanical failure, and every borrowed phrase of oratory, reaffirms the series' foundational faith that the Clampett family, whatever the arena, will meet the modern world on their own terms, and that those terms, however comically expressed, will continue to place loyalty, practicality, and the defense of home above every competing consideration of image or power. The tank is ready. The speech is prepared. The device has been demonstrated. And somewhere in the mansion, Granny's kettle waits for the outcome, still simmering, still defiant, and still the quiet center of a campaign that has become larger and stranger than anyone, including the candidate himself, could have foreseen.